where you're trying to get something accomplished for the office. You can't assume that anybody understands what you're talking about or that something has transpired when in fact the truth may be somewhere in the middle. So that was a long way of saying that going back to the book this morning, it struck me how far we've come, but yet how much has stayed the same. And there's still nothing quite as intoxicating as walking into a packed courtroom on a Friday afternoon and watching a Jerry Harris or a Tom Henderson or a Jennifer Nichols or some of the other great lawyers in my office deliver a closing argument. Ray LaPone, Sam got to watch several times this summer. Ray and Reggie and Damon Griffin are the ones that just tried Lester Street, the case where the 6 family members were so brutally murdered. There's no way to count the number of hours that went into that, the number of tears that were shed, the number of tears that will always be shed when that case is mentioned. The other part of, I think, being a good lawyer, no matter what you do, is being aware of your community. What can you do outside of the office to make a difference? Of course, what you're going to do at work from 9 to 5 is going to make a difference for your clients. But you've also got to find something to do that rewards you and gives back to the community a little bit. And whether you get any credit for it or publicity for it, that's really not the point. I think you will find as you go through life that usually the things that nobody knows you do, are the ones that you get the most out of. The quiet little things you do are the most rewarding to you and pay the highest dividends to the people that you're doing it for. As an example of that, and Ray and Reggie would probably kill me if they knew I told you all the story, but they, after Lester Street was over, there were 3 children that weren't killed, that should have died, but through the grace of God and the miraculous medical community in this town and the quick actions of the Memphis Police Department, those 3 lives were saved, and they're now being raised by their grandmother. Ray and Reggie have taken it upon themselves to make sure those kids are never forgotten. They collected tons of money through their various friends and family and bought gifts for the kids and have just kind of adopted them in a way that nobody told them you had to do. Nobody said this is what's expected of you. Lord knows they'd already given more to that family than anybody could have ever expected. But they did it out of the goodness of their heart, and they did it because it was important to them. And they knew that as a community, it's important for us to embrace those children and so many others. There's so many kids who will never have a voice. And so if you can help in any way to make that happen, again, whether it's through something you do directly or indirectly, that only helps the community down the road. I tell audiences all the time that we cannot forget citizens of this community and our responsibility to them, and we cannot forget that our children are citizens too, and I think sometimes that gets forgotten. So I think it's important professionally to find some balance in that way, some way that you can give back, whatever it is. There are many, many needs out there that some of you are probably already fulfilling what little spare time you have. Any questions? Comments? Yes?
I don't know if I'm going to be able to articulate it correctly, but seeing what you see every day with the
does it get depressing?
Crime. Well, I understand that, but how do you take that when you get home with your 4 kids and your family? How do you separate all that, or do you actually, sometimes that stuff come up with your kids?
It does, and it does, and particularly my oldest child, as an example, has always read the paper every morning since he could first learn to read. Just kind of a good bird, he reads the paper. And so at a very early age, we had a lot of conversations about things, and you do, especially as a mother of 2 daughters, you find yourself wanting to literally just lock them in the attic because you know of all the creepy people out there. So it is a true balance trying to figure out how to educate your children but not scare the crap out of them. Because you want them to be able to go outside and breathe the fresh air and live their life and go to the mall and go to the movies and whatever. But at the same time, again, with all of the changes in technology, and that's, that's a real challenge for my 45-year-old brain and my husband's 46-year-old brain to keep up with that, because Lord knows our 9-year-old could probably, outdo us on the computer. But yeah, it is a real tough call, and I don't know. My philosophy has always been, if my kids ask me about something, I'm going to be honest with them. If they bring it up, I feel like that's kind of their cue to me that this is something they've been playing around with in their head, or they've heard about it at school, or parents are talking or whatever. And if I can do anything to ease the fears, I'll be happy to do it. But at the same time, be realistic that you gotta be careful. You gotta watch yourself. You gotta pay attention. That's one thing I say constantly to my children: is pay attention to your surroundings. And that's just one of those things. Whether you're going to your car at Target or whether you're at work, it's just kind of one of those life lessons I think that can help you in a lot of different situations. Just to be aware. But yeah, we do a lot of spelling. My husband and I at home, and particularly when the kids were younger, of different situations. And they do. They hear a lot, and a lot of what they hear is not accurate. So it's important, I think, too, to kind of set the stage right and let them know that Mary Francis's mother is not right, not all. There's no truth that there's going to be a gang initiation this weekend, and everybody with blue eyes is going to be more. All of that stuff. It's not going to happen. So yeah, it's difficult. And I guess the flip side of that too, though, is you hope that there's some added benefit that my kids have been exposed to some things that other kids maybe haven't, some conversations and some experiences they've. I'll try to think about it. There have been many Saturdays when I've walked home after being in trial all week and pulled my car in the driveway and we lost a trial. And it's one thing to lose a trial when you know you should have lost it, but there's a lot of cases that just have to be tried. You just have to let the community vote. And you're going to get your butt kicked, but you got to do it. But there are also those cases where you've got the right guy. And the jury it's just not enough, and they don't convict. So yes, my kids have been there many times and hugged mom when, she couldn't stop crying and couldn't be a very good mom for the next couple of days because, you go through the whole mourning process. It's like a death. With trial work, each one of them in this notebook is a child that you created and gave life to, and how it turns out is in the hands of 12 members of the community. But every little piece of those cases stays with you forever. And my kids, fortunately, have been there to celebrate a lot of really good verdicts, too. And I always try to make it clear to them and anybody else who will listen, it's not that mom won a case, it's that the jury did the right thing. And that's really what it boils down to, is that this isn't about mom and the defense attorney going head to head. This is about laying it all out there and watching justice at work. We don't have a perfect criminal justice system, but we have the best in the world. And there is still nothing, no matter how many times I watch it, nothing more tense than the quiet in the courtroom when the jury's back in the box and they've told the judge they have a verdict, and you're waiting and waiting and waiting for what seems hours for the judge to read the verdict. It just doesn't. I still get sweaty palms. The hair on the back of my neck still stands up. So I think it's important, again, no matter what your work is, no matter if you bring home, grisly crime scene photos on the weekend to look over and have to hide them from your kids, or, thousands of pages of documents that you have to review. It's another way to expose your children to an aspect of reality and to see how important it is to be part of the system. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
What challenges are you finding being first female?
Finding a discreet way to put my lipstick on behind my desk, because there's always somebody in my office. So finally, I've just started pulling it out and saying, I don't care if y'all watch me put my lipstick on. It's funny. I don't think of that. I know a big deal is made of that. Me being the first deputy DA and me being the first district attorney. Amy Weirich, the female, going to be the best prosecutor she can be? It's how am I going to be the best prosecutor I can be? When I started in the DA's office, there were very few women. Back then, we couldn't even wear pants to work. I had to wear a skirt. I still don't wear pants in court. I still have a phobia about that. But, so I guess, you know, I was raised in a house with 2 brothers. I was brought up in an office full of men. I don't think about it in those terms. I think being a mom makes me, I don't know, moms that juggle a lot tend to get to the issue a lot quicker, you know, like, all right, tell me what, you know, particularly when you go to meetings where there's a lot of government people sitting around the table, the talking can get a little, you know, just tell me what I need to do and what needs to be on my list, and I'll take that out of here and I'll get it done. So that's kind of a challenge for me to sit back and just absorb the information, and maybe the challenge, maybe the task at hand is not necessarily for me to do something, but just to be educated about something or put on notice about something. Because my day is kind of regimented in my mind and in my calendar on, you know, what I need to get done and what I can check off my list. I'm real bad about keeping a to-do list. In fact, sometimes if I've done something that's not on my list, I write it on my list so I can check it off. That's a little weird. It drives my husband crazy. But it feels really good. And you women out there know what I'm doing. It's very important to check it off the list. It's not that big a deal to men for some reason. I don't care. So I don't think about it in those terms. You know, whether you're a man or a woman, and a parent or not a parent, the first time that a mother whose child has been brutally murdered cries on your shoulder and they're thanking you for what you've done, it just, you know, it amazes me the strength of the human spirit, and I will always be left speechless by that. I get thank you notes and Christmas cards constantly from families whose children, whose loved ones were brutally, senselessly murdered, and you know, they're thanking me for what I did. It really kind of puts it all in perspective. Nobody, in my opinion, walks out of 2-on-1 popular a winner. You know, whether the jury has said yes, Charles Rice, you are guilty of killing Emily Branch, and we sentence you to death, and may God have mercy on your soul, or whatever the verdict is, nobody walks out of there a winner, because a member of our community has been either permanently victimized and not with us anymore, or their life has been altered. We kind of talk cavalierly and casually now about aggravated robberies, but it's a big deal to have a gun put in your face and have your purse taken, and that changes somebody forever. Or to have, be the victim of identity theft or whatever, domestic violence. You know, we throw these terms out and we talk about the statistics and we talk about the numbers, but when you see the faces behind them, that's really what it's all about, whether you're a man or woman. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any advice for us as law students who want to work in the prosecutor's office, like how to go about applying for the process, how to go like volunteer work, anything like that?
Yes. Don't mention Sam Stringfellow. That would be my number one consideration. Yes, we had interns, and we can't pay anything. I don't know if y'all know, but we have no money. Never have had any money and never will have any money. But somehow we still make it work. And we have summer interns, yes, that come in and do just kind of, as much as your schedule allows, a lot of people, divide their summer between doing that and something else. My advice is to send me your resume. Anybody that is interested in that, I meant to stuff my business card before I left my office today to bring with me, but I'll leave my email address and y'all can email me your information. We may be booked up for this summer. They tend to go kind of quickly, but that doesn't mean that we can't